Welcome back to Heal Me with Chocolate, the podcast where we talk about food, health, and how different foods affect our health. If this is something you're passionate about, we invite you to join our growing village. Let's go. In today's episode, we're gonna talk about chocolate, Sinless Treats, and other things for special diets, such as Ketogenic diet, Diabetes-Friendly diet, and vegan options. So if this is something that is valuable to you or anybody in your immediate community, feel free to share this episode with them. Sinless Treats has started as an option to fit a dietary needs. So I've been upfront with my health journey. I had lymphoma, diagnosed in 2018, treated in early 2019. And since then, I gave up sugar because sugar feeds cancer. So the lifestyle that I've selected for myself is a strictly ketogenic lifestyle, which to me is the most unlimiting way to eat and live for health. I do understand that it's not for everybody, and there is many theories and options and misconceptions about keto diet, but it's also one of those diets that has been best scientifically described because originally it was invented as a way of eating to curb seizures in epileptic patients. And I think that was back in 1920s. So also I'm a cancer survivor and I want to prevent the cancer from coming back. And to me, that means not feeding cancer. And since cancer cells are the only cells that cannot use any alternative fuel other than glucose for its growth and metabolism, it's logical to me to just cut out all of those sugars and not feed any potentially sleeper cells that I may still have remaining somewhere in my body. So I was looking for the chocolate that would be clean and good tasting that I could eat when I was first treated for cancer. I couldn't find it. I decided to go back to being a scientist and an inventor and invent the chocolate that would fit my dietary needs as a person on the ketogenic diet and a cancer survivor. The way that Sinless Treats chocolate actually became a company, because originally I never intended it to become my full-time job, it was because I was making this chocolate at home. I had no intention in turning it into business, but I was making so much that I didn't know what to do with it. And so I started giving it as gifts, taking it to my friends' houses, like making a nice cute boxes. And then the calls started. My friends were calling me and they're saying, you know, there's something about your chocolate. I was eating it and I didn't feel like I feel when I eat normal chocolate from the store. And I said, what do you mean? And different people told me different things, but it all boiled down to I don't feel a tingling sensation in my extremities. I don't feel brain fog. I don't feel this sudden drop of energy. I don't feel vertigo because I'm diabetic. And I had no idea. And it's probably not something you would know about, you know, not inner circle, but just slightly outside of inner circle. Maybe those health challenges people don't normally bring up to you. But that was the context it was brought up to me. And then I had my husband who heard those stories and said, I have a customer who's diabetic. Would you be so kind to give me a box to give her? And I said, sure, of course. And I gave him a box. And that woman called me and she was nearly crying. And she said that I am diabetic. I'm monitoring my blood sugar. And I saw when I ate your chocolate that my blood sugar went down. And I haven't had chocolate in 15 years, and you're giving me this joy in my life that's called chocolate back. And I thought, oh my God, what is really about this chocolate? So, of course, I designed Sinless Treats chocolate to be sugar-free, artificial ingredients-free, chemical-free. I wanted it to not spike blood sugar levels. I wanted it not feed my cancer because initially I was solving my problem. And so when we were checking the nutritional values of the chocolate, I decided prior to that to run a fun experiment on myself. I'm on ketogenic lifestyle, means I'm in ketosis continuously, and this ketosis can be measured by a kind of finger prick device. And so my ketosis is generally around 2.8 to 3.5. That means I'm in stable ketosis because by that time I was on ketogenic lifestyle for 3 years already. That was 2021, and I started, well, maybe 2 years, 2019. And I thought, let's see how many of these chocolates I can eat to knock myself out of ketosis. And so to make that experiment very clean, I decided to, of course, eat it at night before bedtime. So in the morning, I would definitely wake up not being in ketosis, and then I can fix that. So the first day, I ate 6 pieces of chocolate. And I went to bed and woke up next morning, checked my ketones level, and I was still very deeply in ketosis. I was like, okay. So the next day, I decided to eat 10 of my bonbons, and those are about between 10 and 14 grams a piece. So I just ate like upwards of 100 grams of chocolate before bedtime. And woke up next morning, checked the ketones level, was still in ketosis. I'm like, what is going on here? So the next day, I'm like, I'm definitely doing it. I'm eating 15 of that, even though I'm going to be full, even though like I don't feel those, roller coasters, highs and crashes eating this chocolate, but I'm definitely going to eat so much that I will definitely be out. And it actually worked exactly the same way as previous 2 times. So I was still in ketosis the next morning, and the definition of insanity is keep doing the same thing, expecting different results. But since we were sending the chocolate to the third-party lab to be analyzed for nutritional content, I just decided to wait for those results. And the results were surprising even for me, the inventor and the scientist, because a lot of those chocolate pieces had as little as 0.2 grams of net carbs, and some of them had 0. And the piece that had most carbs was the lychee filled chocolate, and it had 1.8 grams, but I didn't eat like exclusively that one, even though it's one of my favorite flavors. And so overall, in 10 pieces of chocolate in that 100 gram, the total amount of carbs was about 4 to 5 grams. And since I generally eat about 12 to 14 grams of carbs a day on my keto lifestyle, and it's very comfortable for me, I'm not suffering in any way, then adding an extra 5 grams was still keeping me under that 20 grams a day that is recommended on ketogenic diet. And so it didn't spike me, it didn't spike the blood sugar levels, and it also didn't really affect my ketosis in any way. I was impressed and surprised. And then I decided to do another thing, being a scientist that I am. I decided to get a number of people, and to this day the sample size is 382, who would have continuous glucose monitors, so both diabetics and healthy people. And I would give them the chocolate, and they would essentially record their blood sugar levels prior to eating the chocolate, and then over 2 hours after eating the chocolate. And we have done it in person at the Sinless Treats factory. We have done it remote when people would just send me the screenshots of their continuous glucose monitor data. But every single time, no matter where they started at the blood sugar levels prior to eating the chocolate, they saw the reduction in their blood sugar, not as a sharp drop, but more as a very gentle slope. So there's a lot of skeptics, and we love good skeptics, but there was one gentleman specifically that I can think of. Well, actually, I can think of several, but there's one that comes to mind, who is very overweight, deep into metabolic dysfunction, very diabetic. He did not believe us, and so we invited him to Sinless Treats to try it out. So when he arrived, his blood sugar level was 136, and he proceeded to eat 8 pieces of our chocolate and have a conversation with us. He had the continuous glucose monitor, and 2 hours later, it went down to 119, and he could not believe it. There's actually another story of somebody who's healthy and who isn't in the medical profession, who decided to get our largest box, which is a box of 24 bonbons, and eat it in one sitting. And that specific gentleman was a very known doctor. He was on ketogenic diet for 26 years. So he was on keto before keto was a thing. And he decided to just go ahead and eat all 24 pieces in one sitting and then call me with the result. Well, to his surprise and to my delight, he called me and he said, "You know what? I just ate the whole box that I bought from you and my blood sugar went down. It never spiked." And I said, "Well, thank you for doing it. We want people to believe their eyes, and so we encourage anybody who eats Sinless Treats chocolate to check their blood sugar levels and see it for themselves." So we address the ketogenic, keto diet community and diabetic community. Another community that reaches out quite often to me is people who are vegan, who ask if we have vegan options for them. And indeed we do. All of our dark chocolate is vegan, so it just has cacao beans, cacao butter, and stevia and chicory root. Some of it has some nuts, some of it has some fruits. So we definitely have things for people who are avoiding animal products. But when those people ask me, "Well, why can't you use milk substitutes for your milk chocolate?" This is where I realize that there is a huge education gap. And I usually give them this example. Everybody knows oat milk. Essentially, what they do is they take the pressed oats, put it in water, run it through like a Vitamix or Ninja, and pour it into the carton and sell it as milk. Well, unfortunately, for producers of that milk, it's as unpalatable as can be. It's horrible tasting. It tastes just like cardboard. So the big food, the ultra-processed food industry came up with a very clever shortcut to fix that. So they started to add an enzyme called amylase, the enzyme that we as humans have in our saliva that helps break down complex carbs, the starches, into simple carbs. So essentially that enzyme is inside that carton of milk, chipping away at those long starch chains, turning them into simple sugars. And those simple sugars don't need to be listed anywhere. They're just there, and they spike insulin levels, they spike blood sugar levels, and you can check that. If you drink oat milk alone or with your coffee, check it out. Especially if you don't add any sugar to it, you would still see the spike because there's massive amount of sugar in the oat milk. And if you ask me, you might as well be eating a Snickers bar or drinking a Coca-Cola. But people cannot tell me that they're trying to cut out the sugars and live a healthy lifestyle, and at the same time they're drinking oat milks and avoiding like the very healthy, full-fat dairy and cream. So we unfortunately cannot make milk or white chocolate without using the traditional dairy. However, because traditional dairy is still semi-rich in lactose, which is a sugar, it's not quite as glycemic as glucose or fructose, but it still have a possibility to raise blood sugar levels. We substitute that for organic grass-fed cream powder, therefore increasing the fat content and decreasing the sugar content of the milk and white chocolate that we make. If you are looking to bring some indulgence into your healthy lifestyle, we're aiming at making your indulgence metabolically friendly. So something that would lower your blood sugar levels, not let those insulin spikes occur, driving those, accumulation of extra weight. And because we add other nutritious ingredients like broccoli microgreens that get rid of the inflammation, we actually help lower the inflammation in the body, and people lose a lot of water that's associated with inflammation. And it's not uncommon for people to call me after eating a fair amount of chocolate and say, you know what, I lost a couple of pounds on a scale. Can you believe that? And I actually say, yeah, I can. That's by design. So if you are somebody who is looking to get onto a ketogenic diet. Oh, by the way, if you see something in the store and it's in the package and it says keto in the very large letters, avoid it like a plague. I do. Usually, the louder it says it's keto, the less keto it is. Ketogenic diet was actually intended to be an unprocessed, single ingredients, home cooked, with no ultra-processed ingredients, with no vegetable oils, with no pro-inflammatory products. So if you are on a ketogenic diet or you're looking to get onto a ketogenic diet, this is something that you can still enjoy and still be able to adhere to strict keto rules. If you're a diabetic, I have many interactions with American Diabetes Association. I've spoken to many donors, to many very influential diabetics, and they've complained to me that every time they have a fundraiser, every time they have any kind of gala, the foods that's being served there is really not diabetic friendly, and especially desserts. And I think I know I have seen it in my scientific and clinical science experience that diabetes can be fully reversed by diet and lifestyle, cutting out those extra sugars, cutting out the ultra-processed foods. So we invite you to put our chocolate to a test. And if you are on any kind of other lifestyle, the paleo, the vegan, we absolutely have options that you can try, that you can enrich your life with, and at the same time improve your health as you indulge. We truly believe that we created the healthiest chocolate in the world, and the more of it you eat, the healthier you get. But we want you to tell us if we're dreaming or we're spot on. So I invite you to go to my website, sinlesstreatschocolate.com, and explore our chocolates, explore their nutritional value and our ingredients, and really give us a try and send me a private email or a message and tell me what you saw if you're monitoring your blood sugar levels. Next time, we are gonna discuss the very relevant topic, and that's natural colorings, artificial colorings, and the art of hand painting chocolate, artistic designs, and how it can be achieved without the detriment to health. So if that is interesting to you, come back next week. And for now, stay healthy.